All right, Chantease, I'm going to do a video on that question that you asked me about. So it said for you to solve this polynomial equation, given that -9/2 is a zero of the function. And so that means -9/2 would go in the box. And then I took the coefficients of the polynomial and wrote those down. Leave plenty of room between them so you don't get lost as to where the numbers should go. So we're going to do the synthetic division process. So we're going to bring down 36 and then take 36 times a -9/2. And that's going to be a negative number. It's going to be a -162. Let me shorten that just a little bit, that line. Okay, so that's going to be a -162. So when we add the 148 to that, we're going to get a -14. And when we multiply that by -9/2, we're going to get a positive 63. Oops, wanted to show all this. Okay, so every time you grab the number in the box, you're multiplying. Every time you go straight down, you're adding. So now I'm adding straight down, get a -2, multiply that by the -9/2, and I'm going to get a positive 9. And I knew this had to be the case. So it's a good way to check my work so far. All right, and then now what you're going to do is you're going to take this right here, and this basically is 36x squared minus 14x minus 2 equal to 0, which is a quadratic equation, and you know everything there is to know about a quadratic equation. Now, one thing I noticed was that I could divide a 2 all the way through. So if you notice that, that gets the numbers to be smaller. So I'm just dividing both sides by 2. And so I thought I would just share that idea with you because it makes the number smaller when you're trying to deal with the factoring or the quadratic formula. That's going to be helpful. All right, and then you might give factoring a try. Most all of these will factor. It's a little of an odd one, but I know I need a 1 at the end. And I would use probably not 18, probably a 9 and a 2 since I'm trying to get a 7. So I'll do a 9x and a 2x. Then I really have to think about this. For the signs, I get a 2x and then a 9x there. Okay, so the 2x and the 9x, I can get a -7 out of it, but it's like this would have to be negative. And it's a little tricky because that means I'd put the negative there and the positive there. Okay, so what I have right now is that 9x plus 1 times 2x minus 1, those quantities would equal 0. So now I'm ready to set them equal to 0. And then I'm ready to solve each equation. And I wind up with a -1/9 for one of them. And I wind up getting a positive 1/2 for the other. And then the degree was 3. So these are just 2 of the solutions. The -1/9, the positive 1/2. And then when we first started, there was a -9/2. So there's your 3 solutions. Now, sometimes it just wants what are the rest of them. So it just wants you to put in the 2 that you didn't know ahead of time, but sometimes it wants all the solutions. Okay, and one other comment is right here, okay, you could have used the quadratic formula if you wanted to. So you could have let A equal 36, B be a -14, and C be a -2. So you would have the opposite of -14, which is 14, then -14 squared minus 4 times 36 times -2 all over 2 times 36. Okay, so if you work on that, that 14 gets squared. That's 196, I think. And then see how there's a minus and another minus? You're going to multiply there. So that's going to be, I mean, it's a negative times a negative, so it's going to be a positive. So that'll be plus, and then 4 times 36 times 2. So under here, I get a 484. So that's 14 plus or minus, and that's a perfect square. Let's see what it is. I think it's 22. No radical because I did the square root. And then when you do the 2 pieces, you'll get 14 plus 22 over 72 and 14 minus 22 over 72. And when you simplify that, one of them is going to be -1/9 and one of them is going to be 1/2. Okay, I've got another class, so I'm going to stop and go ahead and start my other class.